Imagine standing at the edge of the world, where the compass spins aimlessly and the horizon dissolves into a seamless blur of white. For most, the North and South Poles are the ultimate frontiers of desolation. But for Admiral Richard E. Byrd, the most decorated explorer in American history, they were allegedly doorways. In early 1947, Admiral Byrd led Operation Highjump, a massive U.S. Navy task force to Antarctica. While the official record speaks of scientific research and mapping, a shadow narrative has persisted for decades, a story fueled by a secret diary that the government reportedly tried to suppress. This is not just a story of ice and snow, it is a journey into the hollow earth, encounters with advanced civilizations, and a warning for humanity that was supposedly silenced the moment Byrd touched back down on American soil. To understand the mystery, we have to understand the man. Richard Byrd was no conspiracy theorist. He was a recipient of the Medal of Honor, a pioneer of aviation, and a man whose integrity was beyond reproach. When he spoke, the Pentagon listened. So when rumors began to circulate that Byrd had flown beyond the pole and into a lush green valley inhabited by beings not of our world, the contrast between the man and the message created a tectonic shift in the fringe of modern history. The diary in question begins in February 1947. Byrd is over the Arctic, or according to some interpretations, the Antarctic. The geography often shifts in the telling, but the core of the experience remains the same. As his plane, a C-47, crosses the 1,700-mile mark beyond the North Pole, Byrd notices something impossible. The ice beneath him is disappearing. In its place, he sees green forests, flowing rivers, and a sun that looks different, dimmer, warmer, more golden. His instruments begin to malfunction. The compass oscillates wildly. Then the radio crackles to life, but it isn't the Navy on the other end. According to the diary, a voice speaks in a melodic, slightly accented English, welcoming him to the domain of the Arianni. This is the moment where the explorer becomes a witness to a world hidden from the surface. As the plane is caught in an invisible tractor beam, Byrd looks out the window and sees disc-shaped craft marked with strange symbols escorting his aircraft down to a landing. The beings he describes are tall, blonde, and radiate a sense of profound peace. They lead him to a city built of crystal-like material that seems to glow from within. The climax of the diary is Byrd's meeting with an individual referred to as the Master. This figure doesn't speak of conquest or religion, but of a dire concern for the surface world. The Master tells Byrd that their civilization had stayed hidden for millennia, but they emerged to monitor humanity the moment the first atomic bombs were dropped over Hiroshima and Nagasaki. To the inhabitants of the inner Earth, humanity had become a toddler playing with a loaded gun. They saw our progress as a countdown to self-destruction. The message Byrd was tasked to carry back was simple: change your ways or face a dark age that will wipe out all traces of your civilization. The Master warned that a great storm was coming for the surface world, and that the only way to survive was through a shift in consciousness. When Byrd returned to the United States, the diary claims he was immediately detained by the Office of Naval Intelligence. He was debriefed for hours, his logs were confiscated, and he was allegedly ordered to remain silent on behalf of humanity. In the final entries of the diary, a broken Byrd writes about the pain of knowing the truth while being forced to live a lie, calling himself a soldier for the state who must remain a prisoner of his own experiences. Skeptics, of course, point to the facts. Operation Highjump took place in the Antarctic summer of 1946-1947, while the diary often places Byrd in the North Pole during that window. Records show Byrd was in Washington, D.C. for parts of the early spring of 1947. There are also the logistical impossibilities of a hollow Earth. The laws of gravity and the seismic data we have today suggest a solid, layered planet, not a hollow shell with an internal sun. Yet the why remains more compelling than the how. Why would such a story attach itself to a man of Byrd's stature? And why did Byrd give a famous cryptic interview to the International News Service in March 1947, where he warned that the United States should take protective measures against the possibility of an invasion by planes that can fly from pole to pole with incredible speed? If we look past the literal interpretation of a hollow planet, we find a powerful myth for the atomic age. The 1940s were a time of unprecedented existential dread. We had unlocked the power of the sun and used it to vaporize cities. The idea that there was a parental civilization watching over us, disappointed but hopeful, served as a psychological balm for a world on the brink of the Cold War. But for those who believe the diary is real, the discrepancies in dates and locations are merely proof of a sophisticated disinformation campaign. They argue that the government scrambled the details of Byrd's life to make the diary seem like a forgery. They point to the missing months in Byrd's official biography and the curious fact that many members of Operation Highjump refused to speak about what they saw in the ice for the rest of their lives. The legacy of the Admiral Byrd diary is not found in the maps of the Earth, but in the questions it forces us to ask. Are we truly the masters of this planet, or are we merely tenants on the surface of a world that is far older, far stranger, and far more populated than we dare to admit? Whether the diary was a work of fiction created by a bored clerk, a philosophical allegory, or a genuine transcript of the most important encounter in human history, it continues to burn. It burns because it taps into the primal human suspicion that the official version of reality is only a thin crust, and that beneath the ice, beneath the lies, and beneath the reach of our censors, something immense is waiting to be found. As the ice caps melt and the frontiers of our world shrink, the mystery of Admiral Byrd remains a cold, lonely sentinel at the edge of our understanding. He told us there was a land beyond the pole. Perhaps the reason we haven't found it isn't because it doesn't exist, but because we're not yet the kind of civilization that is allowed to enter. Until we heed the warning of the Master and put down the weapons of our own destruction, the crystal cities and the green valleys of the inner world will remain exactly where Byrd found them, just out of reach, hidden behind a curtain of white silence.